Today I'm going to be watching this video. I thought it was quite an interesting title. It's called British Manners That Are Rude in Canada. So obviously I'm from Scotland, I'm from the UK, I'm British. I'm just interested to know what sort of manners I may have that would be rude in Canada. Tell me what you think about these. Tell me if you think these are true or not. Let's watch.
Okay, so one of the things that comes up a lot, and I think we kind of talked about this before, is here in England, people will often ask, where are the toilets? Where's the toilet? Can you point me to the toilets? I'm just heading off to the toilet. Now, that makes perfect sense because you're just being honest. You are literally going to the toilet. That's where you're going. And now we know that. However, in Canada, that's like too much information. It's too blunt. It's a bit too much. So if you said toilets or toilet in Canada, people would probably be like, ew, which is silly. Like, I get it, it's silly. It's just part of our culture. We don't say toilets. If you're in Canada, you would say, where's the bathroom? Bathroom, I think, is the most common one. And then I think washroom is kind of like your posher version.
Like restroom.
I've never
thought about that before,
really
actually.
Angry
kind of makes
when
sense.
I was talking about this before, because they're like, why would you say bathroom? There's not a bath in there. Like, that's misleading. It's dumb. It's stupid. And like, I get where you're coming from. Also, take a breather. The thing with, I can't believe we're talking about this so in depth. However, the thing with bathrooms in Canada is I have never seen a home that has a toilet in one room and the bath shower thing in a separate room. I know that is kind of common here in England, but it is not common in Canada. That's like a very
I've never
old
seen that
school
before
thing.
in Scotland.
Bathrooms will almost always have a toilet and a shower bath thing happening. So it makes sense for us to call them bathrooms because there's pretty much a bath or shower / shower, whatever, in that room with them. The idea of them being separate is very old school, and you kind of only see those in like old homes. I've never seen it in Canada, but I'm sure it exists somewhere. Washroom, again, is like the posher version. So you're like, I'm just going to wash up, perhaps. But yeah, you're still going to the toilet. We know what you're doing, but it's just like a little bit nicer way of saying it.
That kind of
However,
makes sense.
if you are English
I'm okay with
and
that.
you go over to Canada and you say, where's the toilet or where's the loo, people will know what you're saying, especially because you have that beautiful English accent, and they will forgive you for saying it. What's even weirder is, so in the US, they'll say bathroom and they'll say washroom as well, but you'll also hear restroom a lot more than in Canada, and I'm not really sure where restroom came from because that one doesn't really make sense. Like, you're not resting, so like I don't know what the history behind that.
Guess you're
Bathroom
resting
makes
when you
sense to me.
sit on
There's
the
bath in
toilet.
there. Washroom, you're getting washed up, you're cleaning up, whatever, sure. Restroom, I don't really understand where that came from. I'm sure there is a history, but to be honest, I don't really care that much. And with that, that is the longest
Fair
speech
enough.
I've ever had on bathrooms, washrooms, restrooms, and toilets. So let's move on. Now, another thing that would be considered rude in Canada that I see a lot here in England is banter. So let me explain. Here in England, I live in the southeast. I live in Kent. And I mean, I'm not a posh person, all right? I'll go to a Weatherspoons, if you know what I'm saying. So maybe it is the people that I kind of hang around with, or the environments that I kind of hang around with, more like working class. You guys are my people, okay? You know what I'm saying? Like a little bit lower end, like middle low, hanging out. And banter is definitely something that's part of that culture, that like back and forth, that kind of making fun of each other, being a bit aggressive, but in like a fun sort of way. I don't really know how to explain banter other than that, but that is very much a thing here that I've seen. Now in Canada, that's not really part of the culture. I don't know how to explain it, but it's not that common. It's something that I did in my family, but it was like a family culture for us, but not necessarily a big cultural thing as a Canadian, that we like to banter and be a bit, aggressive and like funny aggressive, that kind of stuff. It's not really that common. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. I'm sure people will tell me that I'm wrong. So when you come to Canada as an English
Yeah, so banter, as she calls it, I guess that's a good word to kind of encapsulate a lot of different things, but I guess what she means is like taking the piss out of each other, mocking each other. I grew up in Glasgow in a very working class area. Me and my friends used to take each other apart, just try and destroy each other all the time. That's just part of growing up. I don't know, I feel like it maybe makes me more resilient, makes you more resilient. I'm very aware of all my flaws physically, whatever, because I've had that time with my friends. So anybody says anything to me, I don't really care so much now. But it's like, that's a big part of our culture, and I really enjoy it. I guess it's very, very similar to Australia. They have a similar mentality, similar banter. So is that just not a thing in Canada? Did you have that with your group of friends? Would you like rib each other, take the piss out of each other, or is it just not really the done thing?
English person, and maybe you're out somewhere and you're talking to like a stranger or something, and you kind of like doing a little bit of banter. It's not really that normal. Definitely more obviously if you are friends with the person. So Canadians here will banter maybe among friends, but it's for me, I find it's not the same. It's just not the same. So if you come over here and you just start bantering with random people, it's kind of rude. And we like to be polite.
That makes sense.
Now,
it can be quite brutal at times.
I want to keep this video family
honestly.
friendly, so we're not going to deep dive into this one. But the English sure know how to swear. You guys have some of the best swear words I've ever heard. Some of the best swear phrases, like all these swears put into a sentence. Hilarious. They're so funny. They're just very much unique to this country and this island as a whole. You guys are fantastic swearers. Canadians obviously swear, absolutely, but we don't have the type of creative swears that you have here. And I also think maybe we don't swear as much. So if you go over to Canada and maybe you're bantering with somebody and then you're dropping in all these like crazy swear words, kind of rude, kind of. But yeah, just like a side note, you guys have some incredible swear words. Absolutely fantastic.
I feel very proud.
Work. Now, one of the things you'll find that is a bit rude, it's normal here in England, but it'll be rude in Canada, is calling people love. Now, when I first moved here from Canada, I thought that some strange man calling me love was super like sexist, it's like condescending, it's super inappropriate, and I hated it. Like, I hated the idea of it, like, how dare he, like, you know what I'm saying. But when you think about it, and obviously it depends on who the person is, I absolutely love when people use the word love. So say like I had a delivery a while back and it was pretty heavy, so the delivery guy brought it into my like little front like porch area. So I said something like, thank you so much, I really appreciate it. And he's like, oh, don't mention it, love you, have a great day. And off he went. And it paired with the English accent, it sounds so friendly and kind, and I just love it. Obviously, there's some people that will call you love and it is condescending and it is kind of gross and you're just like, ugh, please don't. But for the most part, it is a very like affectionate way. It's just like friendly, especially even like old ladies calling you love. I love it. But that's not something that we do in Canadian culture. We don't call each other love. Really like ever, really. So if you went over to Canada and maybe you're at the bar or a restaurant, or you're just passing somebody on the street or something and a conversation comes up and you call them love, it's kind of weird. Again, that Canadian will probably understand because you have, again, a beautiful English accent and they will let you get away with it. But it is kind of rude, it's not part of our culture, and just kind of like, it's sometimes like kind of gross. Another one, like kind of related, is when you call a woman bird, which I realize is kind of like an older school term, I guess. Like, oh, that's my bird or whatever.
And that's more working class, I think.
That is not a thing in Canada at all. And that one is definitely rude and weird. So
I think that's like calling females chicks.
Now again, this one is very specific to different parts of England, so bear with me. We talked about this kind of before, and I said down here in the south, especially in Kent, because that's like where I'm comparing everything, people don't necessarily talk to you on the street. They tend to be quite reserved. When you're passing somebody on the sidewalk, they might even like look away so they don't have to like make eye contact. They won't necessarily say hello or smile or how's it going. It's very much kind of like reserved and socially awkward, which is wonderful. But if you are in Canada, and I'm talking more the towns, the villages, not necessarily the big cities, but the rest of Canada, that would be really, really rude. Sometimes it even surprised me when I go back to Canada and I forget how approachable Canadians tend to be. It's kind of alarming going from Kent, where people won't make eye contact with you, like on a hike, you're passing each other on a hike, they won't look at you. Or coming back to Canada and people are like smiling at you, like, hey, how's it going? Like, great weather, eh? Like, wonderful day and stuff. And it's just like, I don't know who you are and why are you talking to me? So just keep it in mind if you're English going over to Canada. And again, not the big cities, because the big cities, like everywhere, people are busy and they're just like rushing everywhere and they're not necessarily going to look at you. But for the rest of Canada, it's really common to just be like friendly to strangers. You can talk to strangers, you can say hi, you can smile, how's it going, wonderful day, good morning, like all that kind of stuff is really seen as part of the culture. So if you just like avoid everybody's eye contact and you're really weird about it, that's pretty rude. I know some of the north...
Yeah, I think that one is very specifically southern England. I feel like the more in the north of England, in Scotland, people are a lot more friendly. Walking down the street, you'll probably usually say hi, or you'll have that interaction and things, which is very similar to Canada, but that's very specifically southern England has that reputation for being the opposite for some reason.
Northerners here in England said that is just a southern thing because southern people aren't nice, is the stereotype. You know, okay,
what is the
sure,
chances
whatever,
of
I don't
that?
think so. And it's not necessarily something that happens up north. The northerners will more likely say hi to you and whatever. That's cool. I don't live up north, so I can't say. The times that I've visited up north, everybody seemed very kind, sure. But on a whole, I think English people are a bit more reserved and a little bit less approachable. So when you do go to Canada, and if you like avoid people's eyes and you don't say anything and like that kind of stuff is just seen as rude. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I've been talking about this for too long. And with that, those are some of the cultural English quirks that I've noticed that might be seen as rude if you go over to Canada.
Okay, that kind of... Actually, when I see her speak about it like that, I can see why a lot of those things would be considered rude. Definitely bantering people can get rude even within friends and like things like that, but if you're doing it with people you don't know, then definitely rude. Calling females like bird or love, I don't do that anyway, because I think that is more of an English thing rather than Scottish, but I can see why that would be rude as well. So actually it's interesting. Obviously we speak the same language, we all speak English, but these things are like a no-no in one country which are kind of common in the other. Very just these interesting quirks of language and personality as well. So tell me what you think about them. Would you be offended if people said these things or did these things in Canada? And yeah, that just coincidentally where I stopped at just before she explained about the difference between southern England and northern England, that was a bit embarrassing coincidentally. But tell me what you think about this one. Thanks.